UTMB 2023 is here. We've talked about the men and now it's time to preview the women. By the time this goes live, it'll be just over 24 hours before the start of the race. But even though I'm cutting it a bit fine, hopefully if you're new to the sport or need some last minute help with your fantasy free trail picks, this preview will give you an idea of who to keep an eye on. As always, I'm not saying that these are definitely the 5 best women in the race, just 5 women that I think it's worth following their progress. This year's race is defined by Courtney Dauwalter's attempt at a historic triple, and unlike the men's race, which is wide open, she is the overwhelming favourite here. But that doesn't mean it'll be easy, and there's plenty of incredibly talented women who'll be looking to take advantage if she falters. So please let me know your picks in the comments below. Let's jump into it. There's not much left to say about Courtney, and I've already previewed her for 2 races this summer, made a video earlier this year about her amazing recent form, and I imagine if you found my small channel, you're already well aware of who Courtney is, and that she's one of, if not the greatest of all time. So I'll keep the gushing to a minimum and instead give you a few reasons why she might not win this time. Firstly, if you've not been paying attention this summer, Courtney has already won 2 of the most important races in our sport, Western States towards the end of June and then Hard Rock 3 weeks later, breaking the course records at both in the process. But back-to-back hard efforts over 100 miles take their toll, and Courtney said post-Hard Rock that was the deepest she's had to go into the pain cave and that she was suffering from early on. So now, 7 weeks later, will she have recovered enough from such a hard effort? And at what point does her body say no? There's a reason that only Kilian Jornet and Nikki Kimball have successfully completed the Western States UTMB double, and neither of them threw Hard Rock in between. This is an incredibly hard task. Annelise Rousset did a good job of pushing Courtney at Hard Rock, and even held the lead for a long time, but this field at UTMB is far deeper, and it won't be just one woman looking to push her, and this field even includes the last woman who beat her at the 2021 Hard Rock due to Courtney DNFing, and the last woman to beat her in a race in which she finished all the way back at the 2018 Black Canyon 100k. Would I be surprised if Courtney does it though? Absolutely not. She's almost everyone's pick for the win, and she'll probably even lower her own course record in the process. The 2022 Western States champion Ruth Croft will be the biggest threat to Courtney's triple, and I've honestly been going back and forth with them for my fantasy picks. Along with that Western States crown, she has plenty of experience racing hard in the Alps, with a win at CCC, 2 wins at OCC, and even over the sub-ultra distances with a win at the Mont Blanc Marathon. So yeah, she's incredibly versatile. Ruth also, like her Adidas teammate Tom Evans, takes the marginal gains approach to her training with no stone left unturned, even doing a 10-day silent meditation retreat to work on her mental resilience. And she takes recovery very seriously, stating that it took her 8 months for her to recover properly from her Western States win, so there's no doubt with this being her main goal for 2023, she'll be coming in fresh. As far as I can see, she's only raced distances of 50k and under this year, so that freshness will be her biggest weapon against Courtney. And Ruth is a very smart racer as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see her shadowing Courtney through the first half and waiting for a sign of weakness or fatigue before making her move, rather than running off the front early and risking blowing up. By the time I finish this recording, I will have to make a call on my pick for the win, but I still don't know. If Courtney was fresh, then no doubt, but Ruth is up there with Katie Scheid as best of the rest if you were to rank every woman in the sport, so she is a serious contender here. Blandine La Hirondelle has absolutely dominated in the shorter distances, winning both OCC and CCC, as well as winning the 80k World Championships in Thailand last year, and competing on the Golden Trail Series, most recently taking 5th place at Zagama earlier this year. And while she's incredibly experienced at races of 100k or less, she's actually never raced a 100 miler before, so this is a big step up. Her win last year at CCC though is what makes me think that if she can handle the step up in distance, she'll be in with a shot here, as that women's field at last year's CCC was insanely competitive. And her time at CCC is over an hour faster than when Ruth Croft won, and nearly 3 hours quicker than the winning time of Annelise Rousset, who caused Courtney a few problems at Hard Rock. She's in a similar position to Peta Engdahl, in that she's got all the required tools to win the biggest races on the planet, she's just currently inexperienced over this distance. Esther Schillag is the top returning woman from last year, where she ran a smart race and finished 5th. She then went on to finish 4th at the 80k World Championships in Thailand, and earlier this summer finished 3rd at Western States, again having run a smart race and moved up through the field in the back half. But like I've mentioned in my men's preview, the Western States UTMB double is incredibly difficult as the courses require very different skill sets, and 9 weeks just isn't enough to fully recover from a big 100 mile effort. So whether Esther can hang with the likes of Blandine or Ruth, who are coming in fresh, is a big question mark. Plus, her usual racing strategy is to move up in the back half when others are fading, but that may be exactly when the Western States fatigue starts to take its toll on her, so will she have recovered well enough to reel in those with fresher legs? Although last year's Western States third place finisher Marianne Hogan proved that a double podium is more than possible with a second place UTMB finish, so Esther will be hoping to repeat that. I don't want to make this preview all about Courtney, but she is the biggest storyline here, and not many runners have proved that they can hang with her, but Sabrina Stanley is someone who has done better than most. In the 2021 Hard Rock 100, Sabrina stayed within a few minutes of Courtney through the first quarter of the race, then when Courtney had stomach issues and started to fade, Sabrina was there to pounce. If she wasn't within striking distance and Courtney had her usual hour plus lead, I'd imagine she could have spent some time sorting things out and may have been able to get moving again. So it's a massive credit to Sabrina that she ran so well in the first half and was then able to capitalise and take the win when she had the chance. It's something I don't think has been acknowledged enough, as a lot of the race reports just talk about her winning because Courtney dropped out, rather than because she was close enough that Courtney didn't have time to recover. I mention all of this to say that Sabrina is in a small club of people that have beaten Courtney, so I'm sure she'll have confidence here that it's possible again. And I get that comparing different races is always difficult, but if Sabrina managed to stay within 20 minutes of a fresh Courtney at Hard Rock, then perhaps she can stay close to a fatigued Courtney and take advantage if she shows any signs of weakness here. Sabrina is also a Grand Raid champion and has a podium at Western States, and although her 2022 season was wrecked by COVID and a tough recovery, she's already bounced back earlier this year with a second place at the Ultra Trail Snowdonia here in the UK. So more than anything, I'm just excited to see what sort of form she'll be in here and whether she's still good enough to compete with the top women in the sport. So those are my top 5 to watch, but I'll quickly run through a few other names to keep an eye out for. You've got 2 other very talented Americans, Leah Yingling and Taylor Nowlin. Both will be chasing top 10, maybe top 5 finishes, and probably won't be in the hunt for the win, but both will take a sensible approach, and it'll be interesting to see how many places they make up in the second half of the race. There's also Elsa McDonald, who was the last person to beat Courtney in a race in which she finished back in 2018, but her strengths lie in the slightly flatter and more runnable courses, and her previous trips to Chamonix have been a 6th place at CCC and a DNF at UTMB. Then you've got last year's TDS first, second and third place women, Martina Valmasoy, Claudia Tremps and Katarina Hartmuth. Katarina in particular will be one to watch as she finished second earlier this year at the 80k World Championships. Then there's also Chinese athlete Fu Zhaozhang, who finished 7th here last year, which was her best of 4 finishes. Finally, big shout out to Claire Banwaf, who I talked about in my Hard Rock preview, and at that point had already won the Spine race here in the UK in January and completed 11 other ultras, including multiple 200 plus milers. And since that video, she's finished 5th at Hard Rock, won the Tahoe 200 outright, and is now towing the line here. She's a long ultra specialist, so she won't hang with the fast pace at the front, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see her move up into the top 10 late on if there's been lots of attrition. So that's my preview done, and as far as predictions go, I'm going to go Esther Schillag to repeat her 5th place from last year, Katarina Hartmuth to take 4th place, Blandine La Hirondelle to add to her OCC and CCC wins with a podium finish here at UTMB. And as much as I'd love to see the greatest achievement in the history of our sport, I'm going to make a big call and say Courtney Dauwalter to finish 2nd. I think that someone like Blandine will attack her early, and Courtney will have to burn a lot of matches to close that gap, and then that will leave Ruth Croft to make a counter move late on and win the 2023 UTMB. As always, let me know your picks in the comments and let me know who I've missed, as there's always someone. This field is just too deep to mention everyone. And I hope everyone enjoys watching the live stream over the weekend. Big thanks to all the views on my last couple of videos. Remember to subscribe, and I'll be back soon with more ultra running content. Cheers.